Hey y'all, in this video we're going to be doing my October wrap-up, so let's see what I read this month. I was able to read 5 books this month, but I also DNF'd one, so we'll just go ahead and talk about that one first. I DNF'd Salem's Lot. That was my spooky read of the month. I was reading it with Knickknack's Corner, and I don't know what it is. I was listening to it on audio, and I just couldn't get into it. I don't know if I kind of zoned out in some points where there would be times where I was just so confused at who some of these people were and what they were supposed to be doing that I ended up just giving up. I got about halfway through and I kind of thought to myself, I may need to restart this because I don't know what's going on. I feel like I missed something. I don't know where I missed it, but I missed it somewhere. And it took me 2 weeks to even get halfway through. I was in a huge audiobook slump. I wasn't even listening to audiobooks because I just didn't want to listen to it. So the idea of starting it over just really made me sad. So I decided not to do it. I decided to DNF it for now. I do plan on going back and reading it at another time because I am interested. It's Stephen King. I want to know the story. It's one of his more well-known novels. And I'd like to listen to it, but I just couldn't this time. So I will eventually pick it back up, but I don't know when. Maybe next October. So I did go ahead and kind of start off October by wrapping up Mistborn Era 2, Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. This finished the Era 2 and I feel like it was fun. I still didn't like it as much as Era 1, but at least it was significantly shorter, a bit more fun, and you know, whenever he finally gets around to writing the 4th one, because he's got so many books going right now, I'll definitely go ahead and pick it up, but I would probably put it toward near the bottom of the Brandon Sanderson pile of books as far as my favorites go, but because it's Brandon Sanderson, it's still very high up there. Just because it's at the bottom of his doesn't mean it's the bottom of the list by any means. It is still a good series. And I'm glad that I finished it though. So I made a deal with myself that I needed to finish all of the other books before starting Stormlight Archive. And I only had Warbreaker to go. So I went ahead and I was just so excited for this one because I've heard so many people talk about it recently that I actually changed up my entire TBR to squeeze this one in. And I am so glad that I did. It's so good. It was very different. It was very fun, very light and refreshing compared to the Era 2 books that I just finished. I almost feel like those kind of put me in a slump, even though I literally just said they were good. But it wasn't as exciting as reading the first Era. And it definitely wasn't as exciting as Warbreaker. Top notch. I was so excited for this. I can't wait to do a review on it and really get into the details, but it was great. So I'm a book behind on the Greatcoat Saga with Mike's reviews for their read-along of the Greatcoats, and I did finish Knight's Shadow. I still enjoyed it. There's some things that I still don't like, and there's a character that I hate, and it looks like they're sticking around. So, but that's okay. It's still a good series. It's very lighthearted in places that it needs to be, but it has some very dark elements, and I feel like it's a really good, unique story all around. And I'm already about halfway through Saint's Blood, which is the 3rd one, and I feel like this is going to be a solid series. I also read Brightly Burning because it is by Alexa Dunn, and she has her own YouTube channel, and she talks about being an author and writing tips, the publication aspect of everything, and I really enjoy her videos, so I wanted to see what one of her books was like. I got it on Scribd, so I did an ebook. I am not an ebook reader. I hate ebooks. I don't know if I'm the only one out there. I don't like them. I don't know why. My husband even bought me a Nook many years ago, and I read about 3 books on it. It was a huge waste of money and I feel terrible, but I just can't do ebooks. I did go ahead and push through this ebook. I even read it on my phone, which was a terrible decision on my behalf. It's a YA thriller type novel. It was good. It was solid. It's just not my thing. I would call it a sci-fi, which everybody knows. You all know that I don't really care for sci-fi that much. So I feel like the fact that it was a sci-fi book on top of it being YA, it just wasn't for me. But I really don't have any complaints about it. it was good, solid. So I'm torn as to which book is my favorite book of the month. It's either Warbreaker or Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. I really loved Kings of the Wild a lot more than what I honestly thought I would, which sounds kind of weird because everybody talks about how great this book is. And so I knew that I would like it, but I didn't know how much I would like it. It is very funny, and all of the creatures I've heard of from, playing D&D every week. So that was always really cool, is just seeing all these different creatures that I already knew what they were. And some ongoing jokes about some of those creatures. It was just really good, and I think what I liked the most about this is the fact that all of these guys are my age or older than me. I'm 31, so I liked that they were older. I liked that they were old enough to have their own kids, and they have issues like bad knees, because I relate to that. And I didn't really realize how much I had been missing that from my books that I've been reading. Like, it was just really nice to have somebody close to my age as a protagonist. So I'm really excited to see what other books I can get where they have an older protagonist. But it was really good, really fun, well done, and I'm excited to read Bloody Rose next. So I did manage to listen to The Shadows by Alex North on audio. Once I DNF'd Salem's Lot, I picked this one up and I flew right through it. It was something that I kind of needed. It was still kind of a spooky read, not too terrible, but it did have some moments that kind of gave me, the way he worded some things kind of gave me some chills, and I really enjoyed it. I think I like The Whisper Man a little bit more, but this one was really good and solid, and it was woven in a good way. I did have one critique about it that I'll go through in a review, but all in all, I still rated it, I'll probably rate it like a 3-star, which is still really great. Good, solid read. I would suggest it for sure if you like thrillers. Because my critique, and I don't want to say the critique now just because it would be a spoiler, so I'd have to have it in the spoiler section on a review. So I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but it was really good. Alright, so let's get into the TBR portion of my monthly wrap-up. So in November, I am going to be reading the 3rd book in the Greatcoat Saga, which is Saint's Blood. Very good. I'm also reading To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. And I will be really concentrating on House of Leaves for November and December as well. Now in December, I will be reading Tyrant's Throne, which is the last book in the Greatcoats saga. I'm very excited about it. It will be the first series that I started and finished in 2020. And then I'm hoping to end my year with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So I'm really looking forward to these. I'm probably going to put The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue up as a buddy read on Caravans, and when I do that, I'll go ahead and link it down below in a comment. That way, if you all want to join, you're absolutely welcome to. I would love it, and hopefully end the year on a great book. I've heard really good things about this one. I didn't have many spooky reads. I only had The Shadows, which I really wouldn't consider like a horror novel by any means. It's more of a thriller, but I still really enjoyed it. And October was just really weird this year. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but it's okay. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this wrap up, and y'all are as good as gold. Y'all take care. Bye.